Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. My name is Zai Rudder, and I'm the communications coordinator for CAIR National. I'm very excited to welcome you all to today's show, CAIR on Air. Thank you for joining us, including those from American Muslim 360 and those of you on Facebook and YouTube. Today, we're going to have like a two-part show. We'll first be talking about some current events with our research coordinator and our programs intern, Huzaifa Shahbaz and Ismail Allison. And then for our second half, we'll be talking about with Robert McCaw, our government affairs director, about the ongoing Muslim Hill events. But first, let's bring on Huzaifa Shahbaz and Ismail Allison to talk about Hilton's plan to build a hotel on top of a site that was recently destroyed in China, that was recently destroyed masjid in China. So welcome Huzaifa and Ismail Allison. Thank you both for coming on today. So I gave a little one-liner of what we'll be talking about, but I'm really excited to get into it with both of you. So Huzaifa, why don't you start us off and give us a slight overview, introduce the viewers exactly what the context is and also why this is important.
Right, absolutely. So one of the things to keep in mind, the Telegraph newspaper recently reported that, like you said, Hilton plans on building one of their hotels in an area where a mosque was desecrated and bulldozed. And so as many people know, there is a current genocide happening against the Uyghur Muslims. There are about 1 to 2 million Uyghur Muslims, Turkic minorities being detained in these concentration camps. And so one of the things that we wanted to do and ensure to take action is several things, right? So the first thing we did is that we issued a press release calling on Hilton Hotels to drop its plans to build a Hilton hotel, to build a Hampton, and to cancel any plans for this project because of the significance and of the current genocide that's happening against the Uyghur Muslims. The second thing we did was that we sent a letter to the CEO requesting to him to cancel and seize any of these projects in the region. Another great thing we did is that we had Ismail here. He wrote a really great editorial on if Hilton refuses to cancel these projects, they would be complicit in this ongoing genocide. And so, Ismail is going to speak more to that, but I wanted to give the viewers just an overview of why the steps that we've taken in terms of this issue. And then we've also had our Uyghur partners reach out to us and be part of this initiative. And this is not the first time CAIR has done advocacy work around the Uyghur issue. We also worked with a group called Free Uyghur Now, predominantly a youth group, to hold a rally in front of the Chinese embassy. And so CAIR has been consistent in their work in advocacy around the Uyghur issue. But this is a campaign. We have received a response from Hilton. We're going to have more information for our viewers in the upcoming weeks or so. And so we plan on letting our viewers know more about this as we obtain more information. So of course, the significance of the issue, right? China has been complicit and has engaged in a number of human rights abuses as the ongoing genocide of Uyghurs is happening. There's indoctrination, there's being force-fed pork, forced sterilization, and really gruesome activities that are happening. And so it's very significant that it's important and imperative that we not let this slide into the news. It needs to be showcased, and the people need to know what's happening. So and I think Ismail wrote a really great piece, and I think he can really speak to this complicity.
Thank you, Huzaifa. That was a great overview. So it's really, from my understanding, what I'm hearing is that part of China's genocide against these Uyghur Muslims is to destroy their places of worship. Right. And then what it seems has happened is now they've sold the land to what seems a Western corporation to earn millions and billions from their properties. So I'm interested from Ismail, if you could talk to me a little bit more about how this incident at large plays into this larger instance of genocide in China?
Yeah, so what the Chinese government is trying to do in Xinjiang, in the region where the Uyghurs live, is to basically get rid of any trace of their history there. Get rid of any trace of their culture. Kind of remove the memory of their having been there. And this is something that has been sort of part and parcel of these genocidal campaigns for throughout time. This is what was done during the Second World War. This is what Stalin did to the Chechens and the English. This is kind of a theme with these kind of things. So what China is doing in destroying the mosques is it's getting rid of the Uyghur history, and the Uyghurs have been living in the Xinjiang region for hundreds and hundreds of years. They've been there for a long time. And there's quite a lot of things that they've built there. There's they have a huge amount of mosques, shrines, towns that they've been there for centuries, and bazaars, and all of this is falling under the sort of China's campaign of erasure. And so by Hilton putting a hotel where the mosque stood in the city of Hotan, they are helping to achieve that goal of kind of cultural and historical erasure. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ismail. That really puts things into perspective, how this is a larger campaign against the Uyghurs, and why having this hotel built is so detrimental and also so important for us to respond to promptly. So, Huzaifa, I want to ask you specifically, if you could kind of lay it out for us, exactly what is CAIR asking or hoping to see? What changes are we hoping to occur?
Well, I think there's two components. I think the first major thing is that we want to immediately see that this project is canceled, mm-hmm. and that these kinds of things, in terms of that the Hilton Hotel recognizes the severity of the issue at hand, right? They're all major American human rights organizations, even abroad as well, have recognized that this is a genocide that is happening. That there are more than 1 million folks that are being detained, that there are egregious human rights violations being committed. And so there's an educational aspect and there's an action aspect, right? So the action is to immediately cancel these projects. Business comes and goes, but genocide is permanent. Elimination is permanent, right? Mm-hmm. And we need to ensure that Hilton recognizes that, right? Mm-hmm. And the second component is education, right? To read up on the literature, what's happening, read up on the reports of what human rights organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch are saying about the issue on the ground, and what journalists are saying as well. And so I would say, those are the two things that we would like to see from Hilton.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. And so I guess I'll open it up to both of you if there's any last thoughts you want to make about this this issue, and also not to be didactic, but to ask kind of, God forbid this were to be carried out, what message does that send to the international community and also the Uyghur population as a whole?
Right. So I think the clear message is that they're okay with this genocide happening, mm-hmm. and money is more important than people's lives, and that's the kind of message. It's clear. It's right. That human lives at the end of the day don't matter. Your money matters, your business matters, and things like that. And so, again, I would urge, Hilton hotels to cancel these projects. The evidence is overwhelming, and to really engage in the literature and educational material that it's out there about the genocide. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, education is paramount in preserving culture and also keeping keeping history from repeating itself. Well, thank you both so much for coming on. We really appreciate having you. And so, assalamu alaikum. I'll see you next time.
Hussam, thank you.
Thank you.
Give us a moment here as my computer freezes. All right. Well, next, for our next segment, I want to welcome on Robert McCaw to talk about our Muslim Hill Day event. So welcome. Assalamu alaikum, Robert. How are you?
Walaikum assalam, Zai. Good seeing you, man.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So tell us, a massive event, no doubt. Can you talk to us a little bit about an overview of the situation and kind of some events you want to mention?
Yeah, most definitely. So right now we are in the midst of the U.S. Council of Muslim Organizations, which is the nation's largest Muslim umbrella organization for national Muslim civil society groups. CAIR is a co-founding member. We are in the middle of the USCMO 6th Annual Muslim Advocacy Day on Capitol Hill. This year, it's a virtual edition. Every year before that, it was actually in person. But, we're at the tail end, inshallah, of COVID. And we just didn't want to wait any longer. So we are connecting Muslims, constituents with their elected members of Congress. And we have a really diverse agenda of policy issues that we're promoting. And so far, we had 500 registrants sign up. We have about 110 meetings, which is a little lower than we have in person. In person, we usually do 250. But for our first ever virtual event, 110 is great. And I actually expect we're going to have even more throughout the week added to that list. And so we have, over 100 meetings with Congress right now, virtually happening, just like I'm speaking to you on StreamYard over Facebook. We had a live all-day session yesterday. It was an advocacy day training where we were talking to all our Muslim delegates, training them on how to be a good advocate, whether that was in person or online. We had a lot of teaching sessions where we were going more in depth on our policy portfolio, all those issues we're promoting on the Hill. And, we had a really good response. We ended the day with Congresswoman Chu, thanking us. We have Congresswoman Ilhan Omar lined up to end us on Thursday night. And hopefully we're going to hear from more members of Congress along the way. But we had this jam-packed policy issue. We're supporting Palestinian human rights. We are promoting the Sanction Israel campaign right now, which is being led by AMP and USCMO. We're supporting Betty McCollum's bill. We're trying to get more co-sponsors where it would have better protections for Palestinian children and family, opposing any U.S. funding of military detention. So that's the bill we're promoting. We're promoting the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, which would end Uyghur slave labor, have higher standards for imports into the U.S. We're supporting the Counter-Intel Full Disclosure Act by Bobby Rush, and that bill in particular, Bobby Scott, sorry, in particular, that bill would do a review of all the Counter-Intel programs from the 70s and actually then look at any person sentenced under that program, because we're looking at the case of Imam Jamil Al-Amin, and this man has been sentenced to life in prison for a crime someone else years ago has already admitted to doing, but he was on a list of targets by the FBI back then, by Hoover during the heyday of his abuses, and he's still in prison. And we need to have a review of that program, and we're trying to get members of Congress, to save Imam Jamil. We're also co-sponsoring. We're seeking co-sponsorship for a new bill that's going to be dropped in the coming weeks. This is the Combating International Islamophobia Act, where we would create an envoy position in the State Department to monitor, combat, and report on Islamophobia as a worldwide phenomenon. And that would make challenging Islamophobia a priority of the United States, just in the same way that, we tackle anti-Semitism and other horrible forms of discriminations overseas as we rank other countries on indexes. So I want to see Islamophobia being taken just as seriously. We are promoting the Keeping Our Promise Act by Rep. Chu. And so there were a lot of diversity visas lost because of the Muslim ban and the No Ban Act that was passed by the House, but we're advocating for in the Senate. That right now doesn't address the issues of all these people who qualified for diversity visas, but they lived in Syria or Somalia during the Trump administration for 4 years, and they couldn't actually cash in on that diversity visa application that they wanted, the diversity lottery. So, we're promoting that act. It's a great solution. It's a holistic approach to dealing with the damage done by the Muslim ban. We're supporting, a wide array of bills that were passed in the House but need to be passed in the Senate. So for voting rights, that's the For the People Act. For immigrants, that's the Dream and Promise Act. Of course, again, Judy Chu's No Ban Act, which would limit presidential authorities so we could never see a Muslim ban again. And then, as important, if not most importantly, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which is a wide encompassing police reform bill that was passed in the House but needs to be passed in the Senate and is being held up. And I'm looking at a few West Virginia senators named Manchin holding this up, and some of his friendly Republican colleagues. So we need more support for that bill, and that's why we're advocating. We have over 110 congressional meetings, and that's what we're pushing right now.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's epic, no doubt. I mean, thank you so much for listing all that for our viewers and for myself. Honestly, it's really an impressive feat, no doubt. And all of these topics are so important, especially when you think about the administration prior to this one and how much change and progress we need to make to better assist and advocate for our communities and Muslims. One thing I want to ask you, Robert, is how does this event increase and grow and help propagate Muslim political participation? Also, even at maybe the local level. How does this increase?
That's a great question, and this is one of the things I'm most proud about. And I'm just going to take a step back for a second and say, prior to USCMO's Muslim Advocacy Day, CAIR had a chapter-specific national CAIR chapter congressional day where we have our annual national council meeting, chapters fly into DC. And when I came to CAIR 10 years ago, I think we were already 5 years into this, and we were doing 60, 70 meetings. And this is just a private little fly-in for CAIR chapters where we would promote a policy agenda that reflected what we're always asking for that year, different issues every year. But it grew. And in 4 years, in about 2014, it grew up to 189 meetings, and we were having observers from a lot of different Muslim organizations actually attend our CAIR chapter only delegations. It would be CAIR chapters, sometimes a couple cool donors. They'd fly into DC, but now we were having ICNA or MAS join us, or observers from other Muslim groups, because they would hear about this Muslim Advocacy Day, and there was no National Muslim Advocacy Day, right? Mm-hmm. There just wasn't. Evangelical groups have them. A wide diversity of Jewish groups have them. Almost every religious grouping community in the U.S. has an advocacy day in Congress. We didn't. We actually had state advocacy days for the Muslim community, but not a national one. So when we got to the point of 189 meetings in 2014, we decided to crack this open. The U.S. Council of Muslim Organizations was just recently co-founded by CAIR, MAS, ICNA, the Mosque Cares Network, a lot of other Muslim groups. We were looking for one of our first things to rally behind. And the MuslimHillDay. And so we had it for 6 years. And in those 6 years, every year we've had 200, 300, and then 400 people fly, take the bus, drive to DC, hopefully not walk. And they would get training on, what are the key pillars of being an advocate? How do you engage a congressional office? How do you, advocate for policy and then follow up on it? So we're not just doing handshake meetings at the masjid, when someone's running for office, but now we're going into their congressional office. We're saying, yeah, I remember when we met last year at the masjid during Eid. Well, I'm here with these policy issues. And if you think about it, this is the 6th annual one. We had 500 registrants online. I think we had 400 active people participate yesterday in our trainings. Every year for like 6 years, we have trained 300-400 people on how to be a good advocate. Now, these are skills you can take at the local level, the state level, or the federal level. And we have trained like well over 1,000, nearly 2,000 individual Muslims over 6 years on how to be policy advocates, how to congressionally lobby your issues, how to be a voice for your community. And so, this is kind of an advocacy boot camp. I'm really excited. Last year would have been our 6th day, but we canceled because of COVID. We couldn't wait any longer. We're doing a virtual one. Things look better. We're going to do it in person next year for sure. Maybe we'll even do some fly-ins in the meantime. But think about that. Like nearly 2,000 people trained on how to speak to their members of Congress. And not only just trained, but then they got to do it for a week. This is something that our community has just not had. And they're going to take these skills back to their local district. They're going to be more engaged in meeting with their school board, more engaged in speaking with their city council, more empowered to speak with their state reps and know if I've talked to the highest level of office, I can talk to any office. And so, I'm kind of ranting on this, but I'm like so excited because I remember, when I came to Islam like 14, 15, 16 years ago, 2004, I was in a masjid and a CAIR rep came there and there were 200 people there. And they said, is anyone studying law, politics, or journalism? And by the way, that's how we find people. And I raised my hand and I was the only one to do it. And literally no one there was trying to speak with their members of Congress. But like I would call offices and, you see those like call alerts. I do it all the time. And so like, it's not just me now. I bet if you go back to that mosque now, I bet like 30, 40 people have caught the bug of, speaking with their elected officials, clicking on action alerts, even turning out for a state capitol day or a federal day, like, this advocacy day. So I'll stop it here, but like, this is all about Muslim empowerment. This is about building, that Muslim political muscle. This is just about, making sure our voice is heard. And we're not just advocating for only Muslim issues. We're advocating for the issues of our allies, and we're advocating for issues that, protect the rights of all Americans. So this is a really cool event.
Robert, wow, thank you. I think you really painted a nice picture just a moment ago when you spoke about what it was like 15, 20 years ago in our Muslim community when people weren't participating in politics. And then we realized, and our communities realized, what that change looks like and what it feels like. So once we're represented and once we advocate for our rights and for our justices, and doing so, especially with CAIR and other organizations that can consolidate that effort, is so important. And I want to ask just one more question because I'm genuinely personally curious. So when you're working with the volunteers, what kind of people are they? Are they old? Are they young? Are they teachers? Are they doctors? Is it just anybody that you work with in MuslimHillDay?
It's everybody. I mean, it is people from all lines of professions. Manual, white collar, blue collar. It is students. It is retirees. It's anyone that has heard the word through CAIR, MAS, ICNA, the Mosque CARES, MUNA, other Muslim civil society organizations. If they caught that email from their masjid or their Islamic society group, and they saw about the Hill Day, and they said, "Yeah, I have a couple hours," that's who we're dealing with. We're dealing with every race, every nationality, different aspects of the Muslim community, and we're engaged with them. And so it's a really great cross section. Muslim leadership tends to be a little bit older. Man, I used to be part of that young new Muslim blood. But there are assistants with USCMO that are like 10 or 12 years younger than me, and they're getting trained on exactly how you run a MuslimHillDay, how you schedule the meetings, you develop a policy platform. And so there's a whole new younger crop too of these volunteers with MAS and ICNA and CAIR and USCMO. They're learning all these skills, and it's really cool. And then, people who are retired, they have more time. And not only that, though, I was in a meeting with the congressional office just an hour ago, and they're like, yeah, I helped found the mosque that's in your congressional district. And so you want the youth, you want our elder spokespersons, because they're there, and they've lived the experience in the district, and they've also accumulated not only the votes, but sometimes the donations.
Yeah.
And, it works. And so it's great. We had a good cross section today of,
Wow.
young, old, ethnicity, nationality. It's looking good out there, and representative.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Robert. I never like to let you go, because speaking with you is always such a pleasure, and we're always happy to have you on. It was really great learning about this event and also just speaking with you.
Yeah,
So
thank you for having me, and we can stop this and keep on talking afterwards.
I would love it.
All right. Okay,
Until then,
cool.
assalamu alaikum.
All right. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Thank you, Robert. Well, thank you everyone for watching. This is what I like to call the dream team. It was such a pleasure to speak with everyone this afternoon, and also want to thank all the viewers for joining us today for this episode of CAIR on Air. Remember, if you have any topics you would like us to cover in the future, please email us at info@cair.com. All right, we'll see you all next Thursday at 3 p.m. And remember to like and share this on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, assalamu alaikum.